There's a concept that appears in every wisdom tradition on earth. It appears in the East and the West, in ancient texts and modern philosophy, in religion and in science. It is the concept of death and rebirth, not the physical death of the body, but the psychological death of the self. The death of who you thought you were, so that who you truly are can be born. The mystics call it illumination. The philosophers call it self-actualization. The psychologists call it individuation. Napoleon Hill called it the emergence of the invisible counselors. But whatever you call it, the process is the same. You must die to one life to be born to another. Today, I want to talk about the afterlife of the mind. What happens when you die to distraction and are born to purpose? What happens when you let go of the person the algorithm made you and become the person you were meant to be? This is not a metaphor. This is neurobiology. This is psychology. This is philosophy. And it is the most important journey you will ever take. Part 1. The first death. Every human being experiences 2 deaths. The first death is physical. It comes for all of us eventually. But the second death is optional. It is the death of the ego, the death of the false self, the death of the person you were programmed to be. Most people never experience this second death. They live their entire lives as the person their environment made them. They never question. They never rebel. They never become. They simply exist, reacting to stimuli, consuming content, playing the roles assigned to them. And then they die. But a few people choose the second death. They choose to let go of who they have been, so they can become who they might be. They choose to die to distraction, so they can be born to purpose. They choose to leave behind the person the algorithm created and step into the person they were always meant to become. This choice is terrifying. It feels like dying because in a very real way, it is dying. The neural pathways that have defined you for years must weaken and die. The habits that have structured your days must be abandoned. The identity you have built must be dismantled. This is not comfortable. This is not easy. This is the hardest thing you will ever do. But on the other side of this death is something worth living for. On the other side is purpose. On the other side is meaning. On the other side is you. Let me take you into the neuroscience of this death. Your brain is composed of approximately 86 billion neurons connected by trillions of synapses. These connections form patterns. These patterns are your habits, your beliefs, your identity. When you think a thought repeatedly, the connections that support that thought strengthen. When you feel an emotion repeatedly, the connections that support that emotion strengthen. When you act a certain way repeatedly, the connections that support that action strengthen. Over time, these patterns become automatic. They become who you are. You do not choose to think certain thoughts. They just arise. You do not choose to feel certain emotions. They just happen. You do not choose to act certain ways. You just react. This is the conditioned self. This is the person your environment made you. The algorithm has been conditioning you for years. It has been strengthening certain patterns and weakening others. It has been making you more reactive, more distracted, more anxious, more fearful, more inadequate. It has been sculpting your brain into a shape that serves its purposes, not yours. And you have been letting it because you did not know it was happening. But now you know, and knowing changes everything. To become sovereign, you must allow these patterns to die. You must let the neural pathways of distraction weaken. You must let the habits of consumption fade. You must let the identity of the passive consumer dissolve. This is the first death, the death of the conditioned self. It feels like death because it is death. Something is ending. Something that has been with you for years is leaving. And your brain will resist this. It will fight to maintain its patterns. It will send distress signals. It will create cravings. It will try to pull you back into the old ways. This is withdrawal. This is grief. This is dying. But if you endure, if you push through, if you let the old self die, something new will be born. Part 2. The liminal space. Between death and rebirth, there is a space. The mystics call it the liminal space. The threshold. The place between who you were and who you will become. This space is uncomfortable. You no longer belong to the old world, but you have not yet arrived in the new one. You're nowhere. You're no one. You're in between. This is where you are during the stimulus fast. This is where you are during the detox phase of the sovereignty protocol. You have let go of the old patterns, but the new ones have not yet formed. You are in a void, and the void is terrifying. In the void, you face yourself. There is no distraction. There is no escape. There is just you and your thoughts. And for many people, this is unbearable. They will do anything to escape the void. They will reach for their phone. They will turn on the television. They will call a friend. They will find something, anything, to fill the silence. But the void is not empty. The void is potential. It is the space where creation happens. It is the darkness before the dawn. It is the womb from which the new self is born. In the void, you have the opportunity to choose. Not react. Not consume. Not escape. Choose. You can choose who you want to become. You can choose what patterns you want to strengthen. You can choose what identity you want to embody. But you can only make this choice in the void, in the silence, in the space between. This is why every wisdom tradition emphasizes solitude. This is why the mystics go into the desert. This is why the philosophers seek contemplation. This is why the great geniuses protected their silence. They understood that the new self can only be born in the void. They understood that you must die to the old before the new can emerge. Most people never enter the void. They run from it their entire lives. They fill every moment with noise, with distraction, with consumption. They die without ever having lived because they were too afraid to face the space between. But you are here. You have heard the call. You have felt the pull towards something more. You are ready to enter the void. You are ready to die to distraction so that you can be born to purpose. Part 3. The rebirth. After the void comes rebirth. After death comes new life. After the old self dissolves, the new self emerges. And this new self is not created by the algorithm. It is not created by your parents. It is not created by your culture. It is created by you. This is the afterlife of the mind. This is what awaits on the other side of distraction. This is who you become when you take back control of your own brain. The new self is sovereign. It chooses its own thoughts. It directs its own attention. It pursues its own purpose. It is not pushed and pulled by every notification, every algorithm, every external demand. It is centered. It is grounded. It is free. The new self is creative. It does not just consume. It produces. It does not just react. It acts. It does not just scroll. It builds. It takes the raw material of experience and transmutes it into something new, something real, something meaningful. The new self is purposeful. It knows why it is here. It knows what it is meant to do. It knows what matters and what is not. And it organizes its life around that knowledge. Every choice, every action, every moment is aligned with purpose. The new self is connected, not to screens, but to people, not to algorithms, but to life, not to virtual reality, but to actual reality. It has real relationships, real conversations, real experiences. It is present. It is here. It is now. The new self is peaceful, not the peace of numbness, but the peace of clarity, not the peace of escape, but the peace of presence. It has faced the void and survived. It has died and been reborn. And now it knows that nothing external can disturb its center. This is the afterlife of the mind. This is what awaits you if you have the courage to die to distraction. Part 4. The neuroscience of rebirth. Let me take you deeper into the neuroscience of what happens during this death and rebirth, because understanding the mechanism gives you the power to cooperate with it. When you eliminate constant stimulation, several things happen in your brain. First, your dopamine receptors begin to upregulate. During years of constant consumption, your brain has downregulated its dopamine receptors to protect itself from overstimulation. This is why you need more and more stimulation to feel the same pleasure. When you stop the constant stimulation, your brain begins to grow new receptors. Over time, you'll find pleasure in smaller things. A sunset, a conversation, a good meal, a quiet moment. This is not deprivation. This is healing. Second, your default mode network begins to settle. The default mode network is the part of your brain that is active when you're not focused on any particular task. It is responsible for self-reflection, for memory consolidation, for creativity. During constant consumption, the default mode network is overwhelmed. It has no time to do its real work. When you stop consuming, it finally has space to process, to integrate, to create. This is why insights emerge in silence. This is why creativity flourishes in boredom. Third, your prefrontal cortex strengthens. The prefrontal cortex is the CEO of your brain. It is responsible for executive functions like planning, decision-making, impulse control. During constant distraction, the prefrontal cortex is weakened. You become more reactive, less thoughtful. When you eliminate distraction, the prefrontal cortex can regain its authority. You become more deliberate, more intentional, more in control. Fourth, your neural pathways of distraction begin to weaken. The connections that supported your scrolling, your checking, your consuming are not being used. And in the brain, what is not used is pruned away. This is called synaptic pruning. It is the brain's way of eliminating and used connections to make room for new ones. As the old pathways die, new pathways can grow. Fifth, your neural pathways of focus begin to strengthen. Every time you resist the urge to check your phone, you strengthen the pathways of self-control. Every time you sit in silence, you strengthen the pathways of presence. Every time you focus on your purpose, you strengthen the pathways of intention. New grooves are being carved. New patterns are being formed. This is neuroplasticity in action. This is the brain literally rewiring itself in response to your choices. This is death and rebirth at the cellular level. Part 5. The philosophy of rebirth. The philosophers and mystics have been describing this process for thousands of years. They did not have brain scans. They did not have neuroscience, but they had direct experience. They had the witness of their own transformation, and their descriptions align perfectly with what we now know about the brain. Plato described the process as turning the soul away from the shadows on the cave wall toward the light of truth. The cave is the world of distraction. The shadows are the content you consume. The chains are your habits. And the turning is the choice to seek something real. The Buddha described the process as awakening from the dream of suffering. The dream is the conditioned mind. The suffering is the constant craving that can never be satisfied. And the awakening is the realization that you are not your thoughts, not your desires, not your conditioned self. You're something else, something free. Jesus described the process as being born again. Unless a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. This is not about physical rebirth. It is about psychological rebirth. It is about dying to the old self so that the new self can emerge. Nietzsche described the process as the three metamorphoses. The camel bears the burden of culture. The lion fights back and says no. The child plays and creates. The camel is the conditioned self. The lion is the death of that self. The child is the rebirth. The child is the sovereign mind. Carl Jung described the process as individuation, the integration of the conscious and unconscious, the confrontation with the shadow, the emergence of the true self. This is a lifelong process of death and rebirth, of letting go of who you thought you were so you can become who you truly are. Joseph Campbell described the process as the hero's journey, the call to adventure, the refusal of the call, the crossing of the threshold, the road of trials, the meeting with the mentor, the apotheosis, the ultimate boon, the return. The hero dies to the ordinary world and is reborn in the extraordinary, and then returns to share the gift. All of these traditions, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, are describing the same thing. There is a death that must be died. There is a rebirth that can be born. And the choice to undergo this transformation is the most important choice you will ever make. Part 6. The resistance. As you approach this death, you will face resistance. The old self does not want to die. It will fight. It will use every weapon at its disposal to maintain its existence. The resistance will come in many forms. It will come as doubt. Are you sure this is necessary? Maybe you can just moderate. Maybe you could just be more mindful. Maybe you do not need to go all the way. This is the voice of the old self trying to negotiate its survival. It will come as fear. What if you lose yourself? What if there is nothing on the other side? What if you cannot handle the silence? This is the voice of the old self trying to scare you away from transformation. It will come as distraction. Just check quickly. Just this once. Just for a minute. This is the voice of the old self trying to pull you back into the patterns that sustain it. It will come as fatigue. You are too tired for this. You can start tomorrow. You need rest first. This is the voice of the old self using your own body against you. It will come as rationalization. Your situation is different. Your needs are special. Your circumstances justify continued consumption. This is the voice of the old self creating excuses. You must recognize these voices for what they are. They are not you. They are the conditioned self trying to survive. They're the neural pathways of distraction fighting for their existence. They're the algorithm speaking through your own mind. Do not listen. Do not negotiate. Do not give in. Let the old self die. It is the only way to be born anew. Part 7. The Promise. On the other side of this death is a promise. It is a promise that every wisdom tradition makes. It is a promise that every great genius has fulfilled. It is a promise that awaits you if you have the courage to die to distraction. The promise is this. You will know who you are, not who your parents told you to be, not who your culture programmed you to be, not who the algorithm sculpted you to be. You will know who you truly are, at the deepest level, at the level beyond thought, at the level beyond conditioning. You will know your purpose, not a purpose you invented to feel important, not a purpose you borrowed from someone else. Your purpose, the reason you are here, the contribution that only you can make, the destiny that has been calling your name since before you were born. You will have peace, not the temporary peace of escape, not the fragile peace of getting what you want, the deep peace of alignment, the unshakable peace of knowing who you are and why you are here, the peace that passes understanding. You will have power, not power over others, not the power of domination, the power of self-mastery, the power of attention directed with intention, the power of energy transmuted into creation, the power of a sovereign mind. You will have connection, real connection, with yourself, with others, with life itself. You will no longer be alone in a crowd of digital ghosts. You will be present. You will be here. You will be now. You will have meaning. Every moment will matter because every moment will be aligned with purpose. Even the difficult moments, even the painful moments, even the moments of loss, they will all be part of something larger. They will all be part of your story. This is the promise. This is the afterlife of the mind. This is what awaits on the other side of distraction. Part 8. The Choice. And now we come to the end, not of the journey, but of the beginning. Because everything I have shared with you today is just a map. The territory is yours to cross. The death is yours to die. The rebirth is yours to experience. The choice is yours. It has always been yours. You can continue as you are. You can keep scrolling. You can keep consuming. You can keep letting the algorithm sculpt your brain. You can remain the person your environment made you. You can live and die without ever knowing who you might have been. Or you can choose the death. You can enter the void. You can face the silence. You can let the old self dissolve. You can endure the liminal space. You can be born again. You can become sovereign. You can live the afterlife of the mind. This is not a choice you make once. It is a choice you make every moment. Every time you reach for your phone, you are choosing. Every time you open an app, you are choosing. Every time you scroll, you are choosing. You are choosing who will hold the chisel. You are choosing what grooves will deepen in your brain. You are choosing who you will become. Choose wisely. Choose deliberately. Choose consciously. Because you're not just passing time. You're not just being entertained. You're not just staying informed. You are sculpting your brain. You are becoming who you will be. And the only question is whether you will hold the chisel or whether you will let someone else hold it for you. The algorithm wants you predictable. Become unpredictable. The algorithm wants you distracted. Become focused. The algorithm wants you dependent. Become sovereign. The algorithm wants you dead to yourself. Become alive. This is the afterlife of the mind. This is the invitation. This is the choice. I will see you on the other side. If something in you has been stirred by these words, if you feel the call to die, to distraction, and be born to purpose, then I invite you to take the next step. Begin the 90-day sovereignty protocol. Start today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Today, right now, put down your phone. Close this video. Sit in silence for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Let yourself feel whatever arises. That is the first step. That is the beginning of the death. Then tomorrow, begin the protocol. Delete the apps. Turn off the notifications. Create the boundaries. Face the withdrawal. Enter the void. And on the other side, meet yourself for the first time. I have given you the map. I have given you the protocol. I have given you everything I have learned. Now it is up to you. The afterlife of the mind awaits. I will see you there.